Hey guys, today on JD Cars, we're going to be replacing the power steering pump on my 2014 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sport. So a lot of you guys are already familiar with this JKU we have here. It's 2014 Sport, 4-inch long arm lift kit on it, 37-inch Netto trail grappler tires, and that's a lot of stress to be putting on the stock power steering pump. Now this car is almost 6 years old and we have been doing some off-roading and whatnot, but the power steering pump has been acting up over the past several weeks. It would happen every, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. It would happen once that I would hit the brakes, go to pull into the driveway, and the steering would just be incredibly difficult to steer, and it's been getting progressively worse. And it seems to be okay, strangely enough, when you initially start up the Jeep. It really doesn't seem to be much of a problem. But as soon as it heats up, it gets very difficult to turn the wheel. Definitely unsafe to be driving around on the road like that. And I've basically diagnosed that it's almost indefinitely the power steering pump, because at low RPM, when you're sitting there in the driveway, it's really hard to turn it. You give it some gas up to 1,500, 2 grand, and once the RPMs are up higher, it turns freely just as normal. So I'm almost certain it's the pump. I picked up a new one from Advanced Auto Parts. It's not a brand new pump. I couldn't find a brand new pump anywhere around here. Christmas is in 3 days, so couldn't get one online, and I don't want to have the Jeep be out of commission for very long here. So I picked up a remanufactured one from Advanced Auto Parts. They're supposed to be just as strong, if not stronger, than the original power steering pump. It looks good to me. We got new seals and O-rings with it, so should work out just fine. Already has the pulley installed, which is huge. Don't need a pulley puller for this project. It's gonna make it a lot easier. So I personally couldn't find any very well put together videos on how to replace the power steering pump on a 3.6 liter JK. Couldn't even find a good write-up on it. So here we are making this video. Hopefully you guys will find this helpful if you need to replace your power steering pump. But without any further ado, let's get the Jeep into the garage. Let's get working. All right, brought this puppy in here nose first because I think it'll be easiest to work on it from over here. And I'll have all this open space here, of course. I'm gonna pull off the front passenger wheel here, pull out the inner fender as well. It's just a couple screws, and that should give us a lot better access to the power steering pump. All right, so pulling out the inner fender here completely exposes the power steering pump located right here. This is the power steering pulley, the main belt that goes across all the pulleys. So we have one upper line, one lower line right there, and I'm fairly certain the 3 fasteners securing the pump are 13 millimeters. However, I'm not even gonna attempt to take those off. It's really difficult to access the 3 fasteners that actually secure the pump itself. So we're gonna be removing the pump bracket. There are 2 13 millimeter bolts up top. You can see one just right here, and then there's another one just behind this wire here. And then the other one, I'll have to climb under here to show you, is located right there, right in the bottom of the bracket. As you can see, I have some leaking fluid, so yeah, this pump is definitely shot. Definitely time to get rid of it. So I'm gonna remove that 13 millimeter bolt right there on the bottom, along with the 2 on the top. However, it is a good idea to break these fittings loose prior to loosening up the pump or the pump bracket, just because it's gonna be a lot harder to break those fittings loose when the pump itself is loose. So this lower hose here, this fitting, that is an 18 millimeter. So we'll just back that off. Hopefully it should come off easily. I'm not entirely sure yet. And then the upper hose is clearly just secured with a clamp. So yeah. All right, so that bottom 18 millimeter, for me at least, broke really easily. In fact, too easily. I slipped and effed up my finger pretty good. Got some Gorilla Tape on there. And then upper fitting, I just used some needle nose pliers on that, and I scooched that clamp up. As you can see, I also shifted the hose up. I just haven't fully detached it because I don't want a ton of fluid spilling out right now. And that actually reminds me, I should grab my catch pan. put that on the ground because we're gonna have a lot of fluid dumping out, and obviously I want to try to contain and collect as much of that as possible. Before I disconnect either of those lines, I'm gonna break loose and remove those 3 13 millimeters, the 2 on the top of the bracket and the 1 on the bottom. So really not bad at all. Getting this pump out of there is really straightforward. And now you can see more easily here, old pump, new pump, bracket. And the pump is secured to the bracket with just 3 13 millimeters here. Let's see if my little rigid can break it loose. And old bracket, and go right onto the new pump here. Do want to try to get the get this line fitting off first, just because it'll be easier to reinstall without the bracket in the way. So this looks like probably a 10 or 11 mil. Let me grab that. Yep, 10 mil. Should allow us to remove this fitting here, like so. Pull off the protective cap on the pump here. And I'd like to note the pump does have fluid in it, so that's a good thing. Thread this 10 mil back in, tighten it down with the impact real quick. Swap back out to our 13 mil, take our bracket, pop it right on to the new pump here. Of course, hand thread these puppies in. Old pump can now be disposed of, and the beauty of this new pump, and this really is not the case for a lot of vehicles, but on the new pump, we have the new pulley pre-installed. So that's huge. We don't have to press a pulley on here. We don't have to worry about any of that. Literally just bolt this on, hook it up, bleed the system, and we're good to go. So pretty self-explanatory. We're just gonna reinstall these 3 bolts on the bracket, on the vehicle, hook up the lines as they were before, and I'll check in with you then. All right, ignore what I said. We're not ready to install the new pump yet. I completely forgot. We actually got 2 new crush washers and 2 new O-rings with the new pump. And what you'll notice is if you just try to install the new pump, pulley will just come right off because it does not have the necessary C-clip from the old pump to secure it in place, nor does it have the new seal. So the larger seal is gonna go around the inlet tube here, just around that edge. We need to pull off this C-ring, securing the old pulley, and install that on the new pulley, along with the new seal. All right, so new pump is installed, bolted down, have the belt on there. It's really hard for me to show you this. There we go. That's a lot better. So new pump is in there, belt is on. As you can see, she's fully bolted on. And the smaller seal that comes with the pump actually goes on the return line here. You'll see on the very end of it, there's that little O-ring. So pull that off with a flathead, install the new one. The larger seal that's included goes on the inlet pipe right here. So just make sure to lubricate both of those with some fresh steering fluid, install them. And then I found it easiest to install the pump first by installing the bottom bolt. I then forced the belt on, wasn't that difficult. Finessed the top right bolt in on the bracket, and I slowly just tightened those down, going back and forth, which kind of cinched the belt into place. Then I finally got that 3rd bolt installed. Probably not how you're actually supposed to do it. All right, so I'm actually in the middle of filming the belt replacement video on the Wrangler here, and I'll just admit I was pretty ignorant and was completely oblivious to the tensioner and how it works on the Wrangler. So for you guys still working on the power steering pump replacement, this piece of metal right here is your tensioner. You stick a ratchet or a breaker bar into that square hole right there, and you can actually release the tension of the belt. It's really easy to do that with just a ratchet, a hand ratchet. Release the tension, maybe get a buddy to do that for you. That way you can mount up the power steering pump prior to trying to finagle the belt on there at the same time. I did successfully do it. It's not the right way to do it, but you can. So I would suggest using a hand ratchet, take the tension off the belt and slip it on over the power steering pump pulley. So the pump is now all set. Reinstall the inner fender here, get that all buttoned up, throw my wheel back on. We're not going to put her down on the ground just quite yet. Alright, so now that everything's buttoned up again, in terms of the inner fender and the wheel and tire being reinstalled, we can now dump in some ATF plus 4. Commonly, some cars like this take ATF, automatic transmission fluid, as the power steering fluid. Gonna fill up the reservoir here. And once the reservoir fills up here, you're gonna wanna cycle the steering back and forth a few times. Just do it probably 2 or 3 times initially. Come back, check the level, top it off, and do this probably 4 to 5 times until the car doesn't take any more fluid. Now, once you feel that you've got the reservoir adequately filled with ATF plus 4, you can then bleed the steering system. So in order to do so, you need to jack up the front of the vehicle, make sure that the tires can move freely, and without starting the vehicle, cycle the steering all the way to the left and then all the way to the right. And you need to do that 25 to 30 times to get all of the air out of the system to ensure that it's properly bled, because air in your steering system can do substantial damage to the power steering pump, and we just spent a couple hours replacing that. So definitely take this part seriously. Make sure that your steering system is properly bled and that it's fully topped off with the correct fluid. Whew, all right, I just took this thing for a test drive. It's working perfectly. It's working better than it's ever worked before. The steering feels phenomenal, super smooth, really light and effortless, even to turn these huge 37-inch tires. And yeah, I'm just super stoked. No whine whatsoever, no strange noises, really smooth, really effortless. I'm really stoked with how good this came out. It really wasn't a very difficult job. You guys saw that. I just pulled off the wheel, pull off the inner fender. You got 3 bolts holding on the bracket, 3 bolts holding the pump to the bracket. Switch out that C-clip, replace your seals, install the new pump, top off your fluid, bleed it, and you're all set to go. This is a really quick and easy job. I started the job at, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 2:30, now 5:30, and not gonna lie, I was slacking off and filming the entire process. So I'm more than confident that you can do this job at home with minimal hand tools in 3 hours or less. Again, there weren't a whole lot of videos out there. There actually weren't any videos that I could find showing this entire process. So I really hope any of you that are doing this job at home have found this video helpful. If you have, please go smash that like button. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions regarding the Jeep, go leave them in the comments below. And please subscribe to the JD Cars channel for more content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time on JD Cars.